So tell me about where you were born.
I was born in Havana, and that was January 1961, and I came to this country in February 1962.
Okay, so there was a lot of political unrest in Cuba around that time. I'm guessing that influenced why your family decided to move to America.
Yeah, Castro had taken over in '59, and my dad wanted to find a way to get out, and most of the Jewish community left Cuba. Probably 90% of the Jewish community left in 1961, 62, 59, around that. Jewish community until 1962. And my parents told me there was never any anti-Semitism at all, but communism doesn't go with religious observance. Yeah. So, Judaism and Christianity were kind of put under the carpet. But there was never any outward anti-Semitism.
And was there kosher food available where you were from?
So my mom said there was one kosher butcher in Havana, but she doesn't really know people other than that butcher who really kept.
Like, what would the meal usually consist of? Is it mostly of starch, mostly meat? Is it
both? A lot of starch and a lot of meat. Like yuca was eaten very much, and white rice. I guess those are the two main starches. Fried bananas, fried plantains. Yeah. Is that a starch? I guess it is. Yeah. Fried plantains or baked plantains accompanied a lot of meals, but white rice constantly. And I think at least 2 meals a day were meat-based.
So would the lunch be a big lunch?
Yeah, I think they have the siesta culture there. My mom definitely did all the cooking. The shopping was split half and half because my mom didn't drive much, so my dad did the driving. But my mom did all the cooking and all the cleaning up in the kitchen, for sure. And she decided what was for dinner. Yeah. And we always ate dinner at a specific time. It was always at 6 o'clock, no matter what, because my parents both had the kind of jobs that we could do that. And I thought that was normal.
Was it unheard of for the man to do the cooking in a Cuban household?
Yeah, I'm thinking about my relatives, and I think it was always the woman.
Right.
Mom, the kitchen was hers, and I could watch and stir, but she was in control. I learned it from being around it, but not hands-on. Yeah, and even today I don't know all her recipes, and I want to learn them before it's too late. Frijoles negros, which is black beans, which serve with white rice. Traditionally, I've changed it to serving it with brown rice, which is like a horrible faux pas. And I make picadillo, which is a meat dish.
What's in that?
So that's chopped meat. It could be a combination of different meats, but I use beef. And it's sweet and savory, so it has raisins, but it also has olives in it, and tomato sauce, and a mixture of sautéed onions and peppers.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So politics does really play a role in the food.
Yeah,
thing.
Seems like it does.
Yeah. So also when I visited my uncle in Cuba 5 years ago, they still have ration books, as a communist country would have.
Right.
And I didn't get to see the ration book. They conveniently couldn't find it when I asked to see it.
Well, why would they not want to?
I don't know, privacy or whatever. But the ration book allows for just the minimum basics, which is white rice and the lowest level of rice, like not clean, where you'd have to pick out the pebbles and everything. And maybe 1 chicken a month, and X amount of sugar, and just basics, really small basics. Yeah. And you really can't survive on that.
So how do they?
So they actually hosted us for a meal, but they put out things that had been donated by the Jewish Center, which are donations coming from Americans visiting, from Canadians visiting, or South Americans, hosting us with these donated items, with things from the rations. And also because he has 2 sons who've moved overseas and sent him money, he can buy food products in other markets, which the local Cubans are only privy to if they have dollars or euros. Cubans on the street are all warm and smiling despite their incredible hardships. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but they seem to have a pretty happy attitude. A lot of Cubans are turning their homes now that things are opening up a little politically. They're turning their homes into paradores, which are kind of like bed and breakfasts or, you know, just dinner places where they'll serve foreigners at their table. But I believe that the government is still a partner in any of those ventures. Being in a group, we ate meals together as a group in some amazing places that were mansions that used to be privately owned by Cubans that were taken over by the government in the early 60s and have been turned into these restaurants, which are government owned. So, and they'd all have entertainment. They'd all have Cuban music being played live, and those musicians would get tips from the audience, and they would make more in an evening on the dollar tips they would get than a doctor.
Right. Wow.
Because the music is really a part of the culture in a huge way, and we're getting a lot of it here.
Right.
Salsa is huge all over the world, so I think that's also something that makes the Cubans happy people, despite their circumstances. They're very into the music and the instruments and the drumming and the African roots of the music as well. And it's just an incredible culture. And it's 90 miles from Key West. It's like crazy that we don't know our own closest neighbor that has such a rich culture